Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get right into it. This is one of those episodes that I wanted to do for a while, but I really wasn't looking forward to it because when I did finally get down to talking about this, I so wanted to talk about it in a much better light, but the Halo show sucks. And for those of you lucky enough to not be aware of this, there's a Halo TV show on Paramount Plus, and my God, is it awful. But why? Why, oh, Sci-Fi Unchained, exactly is it awful? Why is it such a steaming pile of tribble dung large enough to plug up a black hole? Well, understand, when the first season came out, it got absolutely raked over the coals with the reviews. I don't think that there was any major substrata of population that actually liked the show. I do see some smatterings here and there praising it, oddly enough, but when confronted with the more majority that don't, that say everything that's wrong with it, the people that like it kind of just shrug and go, you know, it's a show. Why can't you just turn your brain off and like a show? Well, it's not supposed to be made for you. It is made for the layman. It is made for people who just want a sci-fi drama, maybe. But it wasn't supposed to be. The Halo show was supposed to be made for fans like me, who grew up with Halo, who spent, I can't count the hours, the days, the weeks of time dedicated to Halo, playing games, reading books, comic books, all that kind of good jazz, right? I mean, hardly anybody that was that kind of a fan. I'll go out on a limb and say that nobody who is that kind of a fan likes this show. And it's an absolute travesty. I mean, boy, oh boy, it's a big one. It's one of the biggest stinkers of all time. And you know what? The people that made it are kind of proud of that. Yeah, it's kind of wild. The showrunners and the directors had been interviewed where they blatantly said that they did not want their teams playing the games as any kind of required research, as it felt that doing so may limit their imaginations or whatever, and they wanted to tell a story beyond the scope of the games. What a crock of shit. And what's even worse is that not only does this show seem to have a very minute fan base, it has defenders. I mean, there are people defending this direct slap in the face to millions of people and their childhoods, mine included. I mean, how many of you all remember growing up through middle school, high school, into college, to this day even, where you would get home, boot up your Xbox, and you would game 4 hours on end with your friends, just playing Halo. You're not game hopping, right? You're not playing Fall Guys, and then you'll go play Call of Duty for an hour or two, then you'll hop on Elden Ring. No. You're just playing Halo. It's just straight Halo for 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And I mean, that would just be multiplayer for me and my friends. We were doing just like Griffball and Royal Rumble and stuff like that. Like it was just that. And then you get into the story of it, right? Then you actually play through the campaigns and whatnot, and oh, okay, these stories are really cool. So you get super into the story, and maybe enough to where you actually buy the books, and then the comics and the graphic novels. You peruse YouTube and find all the cool fan films and the art that people have spent hours and hours upon making as a homage to what they love about the show, and well, not the show, but the game. Rather, you go to anime or comic conventions where you nerd out over all of the amazingly well put together cosplays of Master Chief and Cortana and the Arbiter, not to mention all of the custom Spartan armors that people make, and there's a lot of those that are absolutely breathtaking. So when fans like myself express our outright rage at something like this, like the people who are in charge of taking a huge part of our lives and just taking a dump on it, they take Halo and they say, no, we're going to tell the story that we want to tell. And we aren't going to pay hardly any attention to the games or anything. You know, taking all of that into context, I think the layman might understand our ire. So content-wise, the actual meat and potatoes of the Halo show. Let's look at why it's shitty. This is mostly why people are outraged. It's all of the details that are the most minute to the absolute glaring retcons. I think the biggest one that I noticed right away, like almost immediately, was not only does Master Chief show his face in the show, yeah. By the way, he takes his helmet off in the. He never takes his helmet off in the games, in the books, graphic, whatever. Pre-Halo TV show, Master Chief never takes off his helmet. So not only does he remove his helmet and show his face, but he's out of his armor for most of the damn show. Now, the game was kind of clever in that it never showed Chief without his helmet, because this helped us as the player kind of pseudo-insert ourselves into the shoes of the Master Chief. And that's the kind of root cause of people's connection to Spartan 117, is that he is us on some level, but he also represents the best parts of ourselves that we wish we could embody in real life. I mean, we wish we could take his courage and his resolve, his never ever wavering. He's always first to charge into the fight. He's a hero and a role model for all of the other Spartans, as well as the rank and file soldier. But he's also not a jerk about it. He doesn't have a big head about it. As a matter of fact, he only cares about his next mission and saving humanity. That is the kind of badass that Master Chief is in the Halo games. I mean, he has basically all of what is left of humanity ready to stand behind him and follow his lead. But all he wants to do is, pat humanity on its cute little head and say, "Stay home, I'll be back after I take the Covenant's milk from them," and he just never really comes back. He's always out chasing the next threat to humanity. But again, that's who Chief is in the game. In the show, oh, is he different? Firstly, like I mentioned earlier, Chief almost never wears his armor. As a matter of fact, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but spoilers for the show. Please don't watch the show. Please don't watch the show. I'll endure it for you. At one point in the second season that's currently coming out on Paramount Plus, there's a guy from Oni who is kind of coordinating the military in lieu of the revelations surrounding how Dr. Halsey went about the Spartan project. And he pulls out of reach. He takes the Spartan armor from them. I don't know quite how he does this without anybody knowing. Anyway, about 2/3 of the show, he's not wearing his armor. He isn't even, doing anything. Most of the show isn't an action or adventure-based show. It's a drama. So the writers rewrote Chief to be a dramatic character. And they give him a whole bunch of really weird traits. Like they make him not into Master Chief anymore. He's not John 117 anymore. He loses his temper, he's indecisive, he lacks resolve. He hooks up with an enemy spy after knowing her for all of 5 seconds. I mean, these changes all make Master Chief a completely different character. It's the same treatment Rian Johnson gives Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. Right? He's what Mark Hamill called Jake Skywalker. He's not Luke Skywalker anymore. He's a completely different person. And if you want to write that kind of character for a military drama with a little bit of action in it, that's fine. Go and do that. Don't call it Halo. Also, half the time that people are talking to Chief, they don't even address good old MC as Master Chief. They call him John. Or John 117. I mean, how blatantly rude. I mean, in the games, Master Chief is really only ever called John when something is dead serious, is about to go wrong, or something tragic is about to happen. It's used with purpose. Here, I mean, it's just a very casual thing. It's like there's no veneration for the hero. There's no respect for the Chief. He's just a soldier. If even that. I mean, the guy's treated like shit and like he's a waste of space half the time by Halsey and the other higher-ups in the military. And again, remembering this is a drama. So, maybe that's why. They threw in all of this extra stuff that's really unnecessary to make the drama work. And I imagine that's also why he keeps his helmet off, so the writers and directors can use his facial expressions and whatnot in his outbursts of anger and him losing his cool. But even that is done poorly. I mean, if the Mandalorian has taught us anything, it's that you can have emotion. You can have high-stakes situations. You can empathize with a character, even if you never see their face. And this, in Halo, came out after The Mandalorian. So does it really have an excuse that we can't receive proper dramatic elements without changing the fundamentals of a character? Imagine if you never see Chief's face. To me, the show would still be a big steaming pile, but it would at least be a little bit better. And I mean, we haven't even gotten into the rest of the characters, like the other Spartans. I really don't think the show has that kind of excuse in this situation. If anything, it has a much higher bar of expectation to meet because of all of the other great stuff that has come out recently. It can't not compete. Otherwise, it's going to get lambasted all to hell, and it'll get killed. It'll help kill the brand, kill the franchise. Although, to be fair, I think Microsoft and 343 have done a really good job of that since they wrenched Halo out of the hands of Bungie. Although Bungie did have its own issues, but not nearly the kind that, the Ubisoft and 343 and Microsoft have just kind of thrown in Halo's way. Like it's exhausting. So all of this mostly kind of encapsulates the main issues with the title character, the Master Chief. But that's really just kind of the tip of the iceberg. And I know we're a long way into this episode already, so let's try to just sum up the rest of what's wrong with this tragedy of a adaptation. Tell me why in a show that's supposed to be about a war between all of humanity and an alien empire that is all centered around a big, brooding, mostly silent, and incredibly deadly man, why do we need side stories? We have side stories. We have side missions with tertiary characters that don't matter. They are not integral to telling the story of Halo whatsoever. They're not even integral to telling this adaptation. You could cut them out entirely, and you would still have basically the same show. Nothing that happens in any of these side stories directly affects Master Chief and the leading up to the Human Covenant War. None of it. For instance, there's a planet that has this kind of uprising rebellion thing going on, and it pulls a lot of major focus away from the main story. And this is in itself a really lost opportunity, because the Spartans were originally created to put down human insurrection, to fight the enemies of the UNSC and the main human-centric government as they expanded throughout space. They were made to fight other humans. So why weren't the Spartans deployed to this planet that had a rebellion going on? That didn't make much sense. They don't restore any kind of order or peace or whatever. So this side story gives us this character, this second main character named Quan Ha. This little shit-stain, annoying 12-year-old who I'll just forget that she exists when she's not on screen. But she's a whole actual third of the show's focus. Why? You have a war with an enigmatic warrior character to focus on. You stupid show. Go focus on that, please. Even if you want to make it not an action-adventure show, you want to make it a dramedy or a action drama, whatever the hell. This isn't what you focus on. You don't focus on this really weird tertiary rebellion, basically before the hero's journey kind of a story. This is really weird. It's a big nothing burger. There's also another side story about an ex-Spartan, get this, who I guess he escaped or whatever. Now he's a pirate, and he runs an outpost in space with a crew, and he's got a wife, and he's friends with the Master Chief. But again, why? Stop heaping more dramatic elements. I mean, this is already not Halo, but quit making it an even worse not Halo show than it already is. But an ex-Spartan who's now a pirate. I mean, that sounds pretty badass. How could that possibly be bad? Well, does he do anything in the show other than talk? No. He basically does nothing but babysit Quan Ha. They wrote in an ex-Spartan space pirate to be a babysitter. He doesn't pirate anything. He doesn't wage a war on the UNFC or the Covenant or steal from the poor and give to the rich. Like he does nothing. He just talks the whole time. And then there's the Covenant, which we barely see, and I am almost apoplectic with rage about that. Why? Because in the games, we get all of these spectacular cutscenes and cinematics and stories with the Covenant. We get a ton of really cool lore drops and power struggles. You got the brutes taking over in one game. You got the elites breaking away, the fall of one arbiter and the rise of another, and it's all really super cool to see. But what do we mostly get out of the Covenant in this show? We get a blonde human girl. You know, not the kick-ass aliens. No. A blonde girl who some elites kidnap off of a junk planet because they held a magic glowing Forerunner mace kind of in front of her. They pointed at her and it glowed really bright. So, they of course they kidnap her, and naturally she would be the logical choice for a storytelling device from the Covenant perspective instead of, I don't know, the actual damn Covenant. I mean, my God, how do you screw that up so royally? This is a prime example of yet another character the writers just pulled out of their ass to make the show dramatic. And she is 1,000% not needed at all. Okay. Is there anything remotely redeeming about this show? I mean, the actors are awkward, the dialogue is hokey and dumb, the plot hardly makes any sense. It's a Frankenstein monster of a show pulled from the fuming carcass of a beloved game franchise. But the CGI and effects are decent, I guess? I don't know. I guess they're alright for a show produced by Paramount. If it was HBO or Netflix or Amazon Prime, I would be expecting a lot more, but not just from the graphics department either. But my god, this show is disappointing. And I talked about this in my interview with author Aaron Ryan. There's a vast chasm of difference between creative license and going so far with a project that you move so far away from the source material, it becomes something entirely alien and blatantly offensive to the source material. I mean, we saw that with the Rings of Power show. There's another great example with Titans, the Teen Titan live action. The live action Batwoman, which is the third worst show of all time, according to Reddit. And the 2022 Resident Evil movie, which was released by Netflix. And I will call them out on that. It was just a god-awful movie. To me, it knocks their almost flawless score down to a measly 8 out of 10 in regards to how many times they knock a show or movie out of the park, in my opinion. But, yeah, Halo did the same thing. They took something we loved and they twisted and ripped it apart just to do what they wanted. There's I swear to God, in a vast amount of Hollywood, there's some sort of plague going around to writer rooms, producers, directors, and all the people that catch this plague have this attitude of, oh, well, I have this really rich and vast resource material. I'm just not going to pay attention to it. Matter of fact, I am going to blatantly disregard it and throw it out of the window and throw a bag of poop right behind it. Hope it lands all over it. Because that's what they're doing. What can be salvaged from any of this? It's just downright depressing. I mean, Halo is yet another notch in the belt of some of the worst things ever to hit television. And it is literally depressing the air from my body. Thankfully, though, we do have some saving graces in the forms of things like the recently released Helldivers 2, which pays a lot of homage to things like Halo and Alien, Terminator, Starship Troopers. So, hopefully, where one franchise is wilting into a withering, lifeless vegetable, maybe another is steadily rising in the wake of Halo's dying glory. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another rambling rant of mine. And stick around for more Sci-Fi Unchained. But for now, live long and prosper, my friends, and may the Force be with us all.